It's always a broad that will spark the smoke that'll entangle you into the seedy half-truths backroom deal gone awry. And you foolishly will promise that sweet-ass angel with the eyes of a blinded assassin that you walk through fire to get her out of the cruel, cast-iron grip of this unforgiving underworld. God, I'm a sucker. All it takes is a pair of long legs that have come through slaughter and a damaged upbringing heart to pull me back into this racket. And here I am out in Plains Eye View like a sitting target, with the Rollins brothers out for my blood and cutthroat revenge. Word on the street is they put a price tag on my head 4 days ago. There's only so long you can lay low in the shadow of this dim-lit city's underbelly, full of weak-willed thieves, cunning backstabbers, and sex fiend snitches. Now I gotta meet this head-on, face the minor key music. Crazy thing is, Rosie, of you and me I got no regrets, though the mob will make damn sure my blood is spilt for your unpaid debts.
Into the blind attack, a flashback head trip into the hiss of the house, only breathing cause computer chip. Into the bad impulse night with his rep attack grip. Into the cultural clashing, the lashing with a merciful whip. Into you got no choice but your voice may stutter and skip. Into 5 days of rain complaining you must. Into the battle next love with the numbers you left in the dust. Into when the beggars foreclose your home and in Rome, he's in God we trust. Into as they corrupt your sex appeal, and all you feel is shame and disgust. Into when you get scared, unprepared to overturn the verdict unjust. Smart as a snake and gentle as a dove. Come back to the dungeon, back to the dungeon. Come back to the dungeon, come back to the dungeon of love. Back to the dungeon, back to the dungeon. Come on back to the dungeon, come back to the dungeon of love. Back to the dungeon of love. Hear the choir, sing the song, dust yourself off. Make haste, there is no place to make up for the time you waste. Hear the choir, no time to retire. Get back on the case and do a rigorous red tape. Whatever ship you're in, and do the walking dead to make your head spin. And do the damnation and alienation of those who hate to see you win. And do those frustrated blues, you gotta pay some blues to begin. And do your unanswered prayers, kid. No one cares where you've been. You're smart as a snake, and gentle as a dove. Come back to the dungeon, back to the dungeon. Come back to the dungeon, come back to the dungeon of love. Back to the dungeon, back to the dungeon. Come on back to the dungeon, come back to the dungeon of love. Back to the dungeon of love.
Crucifixion has never been about the devil and God. It's always about a broad. And resurrection is just a sweet-ass angel's kiss. And heaven, you dirty rat, it looks like this.